Raise your hand if you've ever taught a song to your students in your elementary music classroom, or if you've taught a song to your students each and every day that you've taught in your elementary music classroom. It's a fundamental part of what we do. Each and every day, each and every lesson, we're looking for engaging ways to have our students learn song material. And there's so many different ways that we can teach songs to our students by rote. But if we get too fancy schmancy, sometimes the real reason that we're teaching this song to this class at this particular time can get lost in the smoke and mirrors. In this video, I want to talk about a 3-step process that really simplifies the way that we teach song material to our students. Before we get started, I want to just chat about why we even teach songs in the elementary music classroom in the first place. Why do we have a singing classroom? Well, a student's voice is their very first instrument. It's their best way to show embodied music making. And the songs, games, and materials that we use in our classroom is our sort of textbooks, if you will. Everything that we want to teach our students, every musical concept, every musical skill is probably derived from some sort of song, game, or activity that we're teaching our students. So in order to use that song material for fluency and literacy and other musicianship skills, we really want our students to be able to own that material. And the way that we know that they own that material is if they can perform it independently. And how do we teach students these songs, games, and activities? Through oral transmission, by teaching it by rote. So what does rote teaching actually mean? Well, rote teaching means that you learn by repetition, you learn by doing. And in the case of an elementary music classroom, it means that students have lots of different opportunities to engage with the song material that they are learning. Now, it's not my own personal philosophy to sort of beat students over the head with the same song over and over and over again without adding a little bit of layered nuance to it each and every time, so that students are engaging with the song material in a new and different way to sort of heighten their awareness about what they're going to learn and what they're going to embody themselves. So let's talk about a whole approach to teaching a song by rote that is really accessible for students and doesn't take up your entire lesson. Now, teaching a song by rote is not supposed to be boring. So just because we're doing some rote teaching doesn't mean that we're just going to be a broken record, restart the song each and every time we want to have a new listening of it without any new information. Again, we want to make sure that this is layered. There's some added features for students. There's some added things that they're thinking about each and every time that they are listening to a song. But the first step in this 3-step process is actually creating opportunities for listening. So in this first step, I really like to think about 2 big things. The first is telling a story, creating opportunities for listening through telling a story, and asking students questions. Because if we are teaching our students by rote, we are teaching them through exposure, we're teaching them through imitation, but I want to do more than just say, listen to the song again, listen to the song again. I either want to give them something to listen for or a way to sort of enwrap the experience, envelope the experience, create an experience where they're really excited to hear what's going to come next. So let's take, for example, the rhyme Bee Bee Bumble Bee. If you're not familiar with this rhyme, it goes like this. Bee, bee, bumble, bee, stun a man upon his knee, stun a pig upon his snout, I declare that you are out. Now, there's some tricky words in here, so if I'm introducing this particular rhyme to students, one way I might choose to do that is by telling a story and asking some questions. So perhaps I would present it to students in this way. Boys and girls, I was walking through my backyard yesterday and I wanted to check on some of my flowers. And so I walked to the garden and then all of a sudden, what do you know? All of a sudden I heard this bzzz sound. And do you know what I saw? It was a bee, bee, bumble, bee. Stun a man upon his knee. Stun a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. And I said, get out of here, bee. And then what do you know? I walked over to my red flowers and there was that same bee again. And I looked at that bee and I said, Bee, bee, bumble, bee, stun a man upon his knee, stun a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. I said, go away, bee. And that bee buzzed away. Then I turned to the other direction to look at my purple flowers. I love those purple flowers. Purple's my favorite color. And what do you know? I saw that silly bee again. So I said, Bee, bee, bumble, bee, stun a man upon his knee, Stun a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. So at this point in my lesson, I've already said the rhyme 3 different times using just a very simple story about walking in the garden and looking at flowers. It holds students' attention, they hear the song for multiple repetitions, and then I can move on to sort of the 1B step of asking students questions. I'm going to say this rhyme about the bee again, and I want you to listen to see who that bee is stinging. Listen, and if you think you might know, put your finger on your nose. Here I go. Bee, bee, bumble bee, stun a man upon his knee, stun a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. Yes, Jordan, who did the bee sting? Oh, one of the people he stung was a man. You're absolutely right. And Octavia, who else did the bee sting? A pig? Oh my goodness gracious. I would love for you to listen again, and I want you to see if you can hear where on that man the bee stung and where on that pig the bee stung. Here I go. Bee, bee, bumble bee, stun a man upon his knee, stun a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. And then I would ask students again, where on the man did we sting him? Put your hand on your head. Oh, yes, so-and-so. Yes, it was his knee. And then what about the pig? Oh, yes, so-and-so. It was his snout. Then we will move on to step number 2. After students have had the opportunity to have lots of listenings with this rhyme, at this point we're probably up to about 5 or 6 different listenings, we can ask them to break it down by musical idea and do some echo imitation with us. So, for example, I would just simply say, students, will you please be my echo? Bee, bee, bumble bee. Stun a man upon his knee. Stun a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. Now, after we've broken it up musical idea by musical idea, which tends to be, depending on the song, about 4 beats, we're going to make it my turn first. Bee, bee, bumble bee, stun a man upon his knee. Stun a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. Now I'm going to say the whole rhyme. And I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think about this rhyme as I say it. Here I go. Bee, bee, bumble bee, stun a man upon his knee, stun a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. And then I would say, your turn, ready, here you go, and so on. So what's important about step number 2 is that we're breaking things down into digestible chunks after students have heard the rhyme without being asked to do anything except actively listen about 5 or 6 times. So then we go into those digestible chunks, we string them together until we finally get the whole song or rhyme. Now, after students have had listenings and after they've had a chance to break it down by musical idea and do some echo imitation, there's probably going to need to be a little bit of remediation, and that's step number 3. So what does remediation mean? There might be a tricky section of a song or a rhyme that students just always tend to get stuck on. It might be the melody, it might be the text. It tends to be like that third musical idea where students get a little stuck. In this particular poem, stun a pig upon his snout, for some reason is like very tongue twistery to young kids. And so I find that I always need to isolate that musical idea before recontextualizing it into the whole poem. So what that might look like is this. Oh, that third one's a little tricky. Can you be my echo? Stun a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. Stun a pig upon his snout. I declare that you are out. Whole rhyme ready, here we go. Bee, bee, bumble bee, etc. And really and truly, that's it. The reason that I would probably stop there, even if students are still sort of stumbling over this new rhyme or a new song, is for 2 reasons. The first is, if this is the first time that they've heard this song or rhyme, they might just need a little extra time. They might need just like a good night's sleep to sort of digest this information. And when they come back to the music room, they'll probably have those little tweaky parts figured out. The other reason is there's a good chance that later on, maybe even in this very same lesson, we're going to move on to an activity, usually a game, that includes this rhyme. For this rhyme in particular, I play this as an elimination game where I have a bee puppet and my students are holding flowers way up high, and I go around the circle, and if the bee lands on your flower on the word out, then you are out. I often find that students will go ahead and say the rhyme along with me, and by the end of saying the rhyme 20-ish different times to get all around the circle for the entire class, the students have a pretty good handle on it. As a matter of fact, with a game like this, that's a really valid way to teach the song, just by playing the game, because there are so many different ways to teach a song by rote. But if you're looking for a tried and true method, this 3-step process is really simple and accessible for any song, almost, that you'd like to teach. So just to recap, the first step is to provide opportunities for listenings where you're telling a story and asking questions. The second step is to break it down by musical idea. And the third step is to allow for some time for student remediation. Hopefully this helps you next time you want to teach a song to your students.